going to be interesting when the reality of the self becomes realized, acknowledged, recognized within the self of the body. The body self, physical self, flesh self, muscle self, sinew self, organ self, those portions of yourself that have a construct that gives you the ability to process divinity, we'll call it, because that's what you're actually doing. When that recognition comes in, I'm going to say it that way, comes in, because there's an entry that's beginning to be opened by others, by your spiritual guardians, we'll say, that are cautiously, the spiritual guardians are cautiously opening the panels, P-A-N-E-L-S, like a mirror. They are like a mirror, the panels. And as resistance areas. Those panels of resistance areas are where the individual force of the entity throws up doubt positionings, questionings of any feeling coming into the process. The process is the body. The process is the body. You haven't, the human condition hasn't figured that out yet. The trappings have been the thoughts, speech of another, causes the questioning within the self, whether to agree or not, and to determine or define, to discern, to become aware. All of those little nuances that run through the body when another one speaks has to be, all those nuances have to be acknowledged within the system of the self. And that is the process that humanity is going through now. The awareness of the weight of the speech and the thought, in what direction is it taking you? Where are your thoughts first? Most of the human condition is tied up in everyone else's thoughts. Everyone else's thoughts. Very seldom do you find ones in their own thought. Very seldom. In their body thought, in their organ thought, in appreciation of anything, the ability to speak, the ability to think. And which force of light, which petitioning, we'll call it, of yourselves, through the chakras, forces and the thought process and the expression of the divine, pushed out through the spine and acknowledged. The command to the bones to form the structure for life was the beginning. But you've forgotten how to do that, so now you come into your mother to re-get the memory of how you reconstruct the body in the womb. Yet the pleasure of coming out of the womb is what is looked forward to, and not the happenstance and the circumstance within the fetus of contemplating the structure being born, being built. That procedure has been misplaced. That was the purpose of the functioning of the parents talking to the baby in the belly. Really. Teaching how the construction is developed with the energy forces that you have. The light forces, the thought forces, the gravity forces, the sidereal forces, the solar forces, the star forces, the moon forces, the water forces, the fire, the earth, the air, the water. I forgot that the continuity of consciousness includes all things, not just your ability to remember your past and your future and your environment states. It includes the continuity of consciousness of all things, the ability to communicate with all things at all times. That's the definition of eternity. The eternal function of the self. And that is the representation of what has been termed the ability to control the monkey mind. The divinity of yourself is the recognition of your monkey form, recognized as a human condition, man condition, yet with the divinity of an elevated monkey. Huniman. That one was a teacher for the human condition and what is called the expression of evolution. That's what that representation was for. In the human condition, they understood what your process is here. Your greatness into your lesserness, the least of yourself, and then coming back out into your greatness. This is representation, Huniman. The divine essence recognizes the love within the self of another out there, the real divine. That's where the power comes from. As we go through your growth, you begin to appreciate, maybe not right off the bat, but it's going to come quickly. The ability to appreciate watching a bird fly. How does it do that? A dog walk, a tiger walk, run, lion run, giraffe. The movement of the animal. The movement of it, the watching of the movement of the animals. And that watching of it encourages you in the expression of your movement of it as you grow, as you little one to a big one. You see how things move, and the ability in the body is acknowledged that it can move. So in essence, nature grows together, looking at each other, moving upward in the spiral. And you're seeing nature respond now differently. Dogs are rescuing babies out of trash cans, out of dire circumstances, and bringing them to civilization. It's in your news media. The animals are starting to recognize the divinity in the little ones. That's one of your signs that nature responds to the divine in the human. Not in the human controlling with the false attitude of nature. Restrictive, controlling. This is awareness of the freedom of it. The awareness of the freedom of it, which allows you to have the awareness of your freedom of it. that move like I'm moving. And you see and you realize spatial difference. And then time becomes significant in a manner. You understand that time is the life. Time. And time is also a direction. Time is a direction. Life is a direction. You pick it up or you pick it down. The awareness and the visual expression I will say is the seeing of it and the recognition and the feeling of what the seeing would mean in the corporal entity called the self is the first step. And then the sound is the second step of words. Resonances, speech has an effect. And this is where most little ones shut down. They hear the hard speech of the parents. The fighting and the screaming. The little ones shut down. They close their panels. So always happens. Because the expectation of when you were coming through to be here was not what it ended up being like. Didn't meet the expectation. The forgetting of the restrictedness of this force. Yet the force that is restriction is also the one that teaches. It refines you. It lets you know yourself. Because eventually you find out that you're living your death. The life that you think is life is not a life. It's a classroom, a forced learning here. And the time frame within what is called the experience of the expression is for the accumulation of time. So as you have this lifetime, you have accumulated time and died, spent so many years here, and take another life here, spent so many years here, and again and again. Yet the human condition looks back at the reincarnation time as an experience, learn, die, another experience, learn, die, another experience, learn, die. Instead of putting it together and understand that it's all life, has been life, and the separation has been your chapter or catalog place, a storage place, where you put the memories of eternity there. Because within eternity it becomes, in essence, you would term boring, yet not. Because the expansion available is tremendous, yet the fear involved is also there. So they come back to reincarnate and to gain more experience, more power, and more faith in the self as it goes through this thing forever into eternity. Because eternity can be a very frightening thing. I have to suffer forever? Not so. The purpose is to learn how not to be caught in that thing. Where's your thought? Whose thought is it? Where's my divine? Where are the other divine beings? The contemplation of the presence that is there, which is called the distance in space, allows you to see from one point to another. In order to get to that point, from the point you are to another point, it takes time. That time is life. And that life is the enjoyment of from one point to another point. Once you understand that the 2 points are the same, then the time begins to collapse in itself, your understanding of it. And what you do is you've called your divine to you. You've called the space and the beings within the space to you. What you call the internal force of the self, which is the monkey force. It is the monkey. It is your ancient form of expression here that can walk and talk and understand and move with contemplation. You see. Now, in that recognition that you have the force of the eternity in you, with this what is called the design, we'll call it the design now, of the monkey. The playfulness is there. And that's where the human condition got caught up in. And that's why it's been referred to as playing with your monkey mind. Through the years, many masters have talked of it. But the monkey mind and the monkey body together are profound beings, profound force. It's the alignment now that needs to be taking place. You're seeing it in some of your societies. Beings are trying to emulate animal forms. In ritual, some are even going so far in their normal life to have their body parts altered. Not appropriate. Not appropriate. You're dealing with so much coming into your funnel that the processing part is difficult to contemplate, assimilate, and see that it's actuated. So you go into a subconscious understanding where the organs know what they're doing, and you hope that everything's working fine. There's an inner trust there that the organs know what they're doing. They do initially, until the thought hits. Inappropriate thoughts change the structure of the organs. It will defend itself. And by defending itself, it'll shut itself off, is what it does. All of them do. That's what happens when you, as you grow older, you haven't been thankful enough for the parts that are inside of you. Everyone wants things that are outside of them. You can't get them inside, and they've been told it's the inside that has to come out. So beings are grabbing stuff outside, then you're not going to get it inside you. You're not. So you should just stop. And the primary organ right now that beings should be working on in thankfulness is their liver, and the one, and their kidneys too. Because when you find out that the cleansing forces that are applied to those organs appropriately worked, have an immediate effect in opening the crown chakra. Drastic, immediate. It'll skip right through the throat chakra, go right up the back of the head, and the crown will open. And then there'll be the drop, and the organs will feel blessed, because they can see the light now. And they'll say, finally, I can breathe. Because the organs do breathe. Now, the workings of the body now are going to be more into the spinal area, the spine. And the energies that are coming in are going to come in from an angle along from the back, at the sides, 45 degrees, sideways. Like this, not from top or not from bottom, but from the side. And when you feel that come in, it should come in at both sides of the spine. From the left side, you feel it on the left side of the spine inside. From the back on the right side, you feel it on the spine inside. You should feel it like a V there coming. That's you calling your experiences of this lifetime. From the memories and the fields of the auric field that you have, you're calling it together. Your young self, your older self. You're blending it as an experience within the self. It's happening. You've done it that life. You've done it. It's the weave now that's going on. So you accept it, appreciate it, learn from it. You understand, I have that part now. Take a breath, breathe, and you sit with it. You push it down into the pelvic area. Because it'll want to rush up and you want to acknowledge how happy and you are so grateful and it is there. Push it down. Contemplate it in a moment of sanctity. Because that's the holiness of yourself. So you don't have to die and see all the other things and experience and then get a new body. You integrate it now, purge it, clear it, forgive it. Take a breath, walk out of it, step forward, it'll drop down the past, and you'll step into another light. It'll drop down. It will drop down like letting go of an old coat. You just walk out of it. And those thoughts and those processes that you went through that you're letting go of will feed the earth. We put it in its proper place, and there are those that need that experience, etc., when they incorporate it in all form, whatever it is, animal, insect, doesn't matter. It will be the completion of something. So you let that go and don't worry about what it is, and you step forward. And the minute you step forward, you'll feel it in your fingers. You will feel it in your fingers. You've been allowed the freedom to grasp new things. Because your hands are so full now, you can't grasp anything else. But this next grasping will be the healing grasping, will be the acceptance of the light force entering in you to purge you, clean you, and clear you. And it won't be just coming from the spine or the crown now and the feet as it should have been way back in the beginning as you understood yourself. It's going to become from all over, from the front of you, from the sides. And you just need to know that your fingers, literally, on your thumb, will give you the clues how to manage this energy. Those are your flow pipes, and the toes too. Particularly the thumb, because the thumb has to do with the will. And when there's pain there, your will is not aligned with the divine will. So you look at it, and you look at which hand it is in. One hand means one thing, and another hand means the other. These are the tools for yourself, your antennas. Each one is a signal from a divine being, and they're marked on the fingers. And if you can just contemplate that the selection process that you've brought yourself through is being acknowledged now, and you're coming out of this turmoil, is what it would be said later. You've rescued yourself. You found yourself worthy enough to continue. You've stopped judging others for being not worthy. You're worthy, you continue. And you're going to watch the falling away. It's not going to be too difficult anymore because the exposure is coming out. Everything's being exposed. There's nothing being hidden anymore, though it's trying to be. There's a great shift working on those that desire peace. And those are the ones that are going to succeed. The others have lost already, but they haven't realized it. Now, one of the important things with these, your personality constructs, is to be very thankful for the fact that you have bone that can manufacture blood for you, which is what the spirit lives on, and the rest is left to you. Right? You cannot live a life in a human form unless you have blood. Water will not do it. You cannot push water through those veins. You cannot push olive oil through those veins and live. It does not breathe. The blood breathes. It exchanges oxygen. It has a concept of itself as a self. Each little red corpuscle starts brand new. So in the contemplation that you need blood to be in a body, to be alive in a body, and the bone in the contemplation of it manufactures the blood, it would seem that the bone would be a pretty precious article to have around, to have blood. And the process that needs to be understood, it's the Holy Spirit that does that. The invisible of the invisibles that caresses the bone, and the bone produces the blood. Doesn't know how to do it otherwise. Has no idea. But it knows it's capable of doing it. It takes the squeeze of the Spirit to milk the bone, to create the blood, so the Spirit can live off the blood. It's like milking a cow or a goat. You drink the milk, and so you can survive yourself, you feed the animal. Same thing. But you forgot who you were in this process and how you are available to be part of the spiritual force moving. Because it is the Spirit that is allowing you the blood. And the thankfulness has not been there. And that's why you have all these diseases coming now. Your blood knows how to defend itself. Your body knows how to defend itself from the little ones that try to take you. But it needs assistance, and the assistance comes from the prayerful attitude. And by prayer I mean a sanctification within the self. That you need assistance from the spiritual forces now. That's the recognition that's going on. The governments are not helping anyone, in case you haven't noticed. So it's time for the water to be acknowledged. Number 1, to drink it. Number 2, to pray as you drink it. And number 3, to thank the spiritual force that allows you to have blood. And contemplate the fact that how does that get manufactured, the blood? How does that happen? That's the miracle of yourself. That's the miracle of yourself, because this is the ancient part of yourself that knew how to pray correctly, that allowed this manifestation in this lifetime. Yes, it wasn't you this lifetime that did it. It was an old one that did it for you. All of you. And it's time to thank those old ones. Because somehow you requested their assistance in this thing before you got here. Because nobody can do it alone. Even Christ needed his disciples. For reasons unbeknownst to mankind as of yet. We have to be careful in this time frame now, because you have forces that you have not familiar with, but you have heard about, possibly. They are much stronger than anyone can ever realize. Most of us are working so that this force does not present itself in such a great manner that everything is destroyed. Because that's what it likes to do. When in due term it's disapproval of the state of affairs, we'll call it. It has opinions. And when that realization hits, it's going to be difficult to maintain a unique identity as a self if you're not careful. Because that's given by permission. And earned in a manner. Now, in case you haven't noticed, in your news, there have been a lot of fires lately. Large ones. That's the fire elemental demonstrating. The fire elemental. You've been set off. Now you've got the water, the wind, and the earth, those beings. Fire will move first, because all it does is consume. That excites the air. We need prayers here. The angels need prayers. They're praying for you. Nobody's praying for them. But you're going to see pretty soon it's going to be apparent that everyone's going to need to pray for each other. That's going to be the toughest part of this equation. It won't matter which prayer. It'll matter the sincerity of it. Because that's what it's going to take to stop the destruction. Well, words won't do it. Anger won't do it. Bombs won't do it. It's going to take a spiritual essence now to stop this nonsense that started. Hitler entered Poland. Oh, it's just Poland. Does it look like history might be repeating itself? Notice the colors these beings are wearing when they make these statements. Purple and black. There are other beings working through these beings now, through your leaders. Everybody's a medium. Everybody's channeling something. This is the time. Recognition of it all. No one's greater than another. It's supposed to be here to live. Prevent death. Know what it is. It's literally talking bad about another. That's what it is. Anyone. You've lowered yourself to do that. To pray is a difficult thing. Most people feel comfortable in a big ceremony saying something. But it's the silence of it that does the magic. The noise is for the calling, but then the prayer has to be silent if you know what you're doing. Humanity hasn't got to that part yet. But they're going to wish they had. Peace and mercy to all beings as we work through this. Because what's going to be found out is your spine these vertebrae, is literally another floor in your elevator. And when the doors open of that particular spinal vertebrae, you're looking at another floor of the dimensions of God and how you did it within the self of the crystalline structure called your spine. Not just the movement of the spine that's important. It's the ability of the bone to display and broadcast visual images in front of you for you to see, walk through, work with. It's your projector. Literally, your crystalline projector. All of your bones, skull, vertebrae, arms, legs. They project images out through you, you interact with it. Slow the speed down so you think you're doing something. That's the mirror effect you people talk about in your metaphysical understanding. The mirrors are seeing the mirrors. God expresses himself through all things, everything. All time, every when, and everywhere. It doesn't have to move. Never did move. Everything else did. Still does. The nature of God is the appreciation of all things. His nature enjoys what it sees out there, without judgment sees, because it created it. Takes pleasure in watching it. It is, even in the extremes. The beginning now of what is going to come forth are the teachers now. The teachers of the teachers, things. Those who want to learn. Those who want to hear and apply. See and apply. Feel and apply. Combine the three and apply. And the knowledge of it is the healing of all things. Particularly what you call eternity, the life of the self. The forever monkey you. The part of you that wants to get in the body to express, but this doesn't want to because it knows the environment it might have to go into. And some of the people associated with that environment doesn't like to be around sometimes. That's the self. Learning to appreciate itself and put itself in places where it wants to be. Pieces of appreciation for itself. Recognition of everything as divine. Without the concerns. Because divine is not concerned of anything. There's no need to. It knows how to breathe if it needs to. It knows how to make breath if it needs to. It knows what not to do if it needs to. Its main focus is not what or when or why. Its main focus is whether or not to do it or not. That's its main thing in this reality. It's aware of consequences of everything. Movement of one here affects this here. Is it appropriate for this to be moved first? Is what you look at before moving this one. If it is, you move this one. If it's not, you don't move this one. You don't move and then see what happens down the line. You look down the line to see if it's appropriate to move. If you are who you say you are. Because it's always the little ones that we want to protect. They're the beginning learning process, yeah. You affect things to affect a little one, you're going to have a difficulty. You protect the little ones. Which in your world is obviously not happening. Are there any questions?
When you say prophesy to the bone, which you said means command the bone. Can you give me an example? What we say to the bone? Are we asking the bone to heal, or are we asking it to create our life? Or
Initially, you're asking the bone to form.
Form.
You're commanding the elements of your world, the earth world, to form bone. Boom. And there's a particular name you use. It's in your references. You can use them. It is said to say this, and it's said, and then the bone does it. And then the other thing calls, and you call the sinew, and you call the muscle, and then you call the flesh. It overlays. They're in the ether thing, overlays. And then you call the wind for the breath, because the body's not breathing yet. And once that first breath gets in there, that activates everything. Because that's the spirit's force. It quickens things. It's like an electrical shock. A very tiny scale, but it has an effect on the water. It excites the hydrogen, fires it off. You forget how simple you are, really. 60-70% of you is H2O. Oxygen and fire. They get along famously within the system. Outside of the system, they have a little trouble. So you are literally the ones who can hold that combustible force within it. The structure of it, literally. The explosive device. You are literally bombs. And you're working with that magnificent force of energy. Just in the construct of your thought is causing things to fire off and get things done. Just thinking it. Organs start going on, get ready to do that job. No, they cancel that. Okay, put that away. That's the way it is. Your body pre-fires before to get it ready. It already knows before you even think it, actually, in a manner. If you could get to a point where you could pre-think, just a notification, just before your thought, you have a clue to what you're really working with here. You're not working with words. You're working with an energy before the words, the pleasure of deciding how to design this thing so the ecstasy can be felt within it. Words are constructs that have caught you. I say house. Everyone would have a different image of house. Everyone. Boat. And then you get into the descriptive phase, and everything's so much down that you forgot what the boat was for, or what the house was for. Get into your kitchen and this and that, and then what's the whole structure for in the first place? Safety and protection from the weather and winds, and you go have a comfort place. Protection. Same thing with the body.
But this is at birth. But how do we command the bones?
That birth is a parasitic form coming in now. You forgot how to do that. You're relying on your mother and you're pulling her force to get it. As she did from her mother and she did from her mother. The ancient form of how to do this has been forgotten.
Where is it? You said in the references. What references?
It's in your Bible. It's in Ezekiel. Ezekiel, in your history, was the only human recorded in your time that had gone straight up and didn't die. Saw the Father in heaven. Alright? That happened. Then you got centuries come through, times and eons. And you come to the birth of Christ. John the Baptist. Well, the people at that time asked Jesus, I thought Elijah, actually it was Elijah, not Ezekiel. Elijah, one of them, was supposed to come back before you, and he said it did. It was John the Baptist. So he's already been up there and seen him. So it was like 1, 2, 3. He did it. He saw, confirmed, not a bunch of words. And that's how John the Baptist recognized who Jesus was. But there's other stories there that haven't been integrated, folks. You're getting pieces. The cord of life is one cord. And everything comes out of it, off of it. It's just one string. Yet everything unravels. You get all this. The manifester of that cord of life, we call it Divine Eternal Father. Eternity. Eternal One. Beyond Eternal One. There's no limit to the woods. If he decided to pull that cord, or the entity running it, decides to pull that, life goes. What do you think is life, anyway? Well, you find yourself as in a big space, looking at little dots of light. That's all you're going to see. That's it.
Why would you do that?
It has a history of doing it. This mankind gets its anger, energy, destructive force from the insanity of the divine. It just loses it. It has a sense. The sense would be nothing's worth it. It's not. Nothing's good there. It just. It's like you flushing a toilet. Doesn't want to do that anymore. Okay. You can go on to the next one. Exactly the same thing.
Okay, but I wasn't clear in my question. Can we, after we're born, once we become aware, we want to talk to the bones, to ask for, can we ask the bones to heal if they're not? What can we say to the bones to gain a better health?
The bone, the particular stone is rose quartz. You hold rose quartz in a piece in either hand. That's a vibration of a blood force in rock. That's what that is. Why it's called rose quartz. The vibration of it. You got the color, so if I see the color and can feel the color, okay, that's it. But the bones feel it. They feel the elemental earth energy mineralized there, and they resonate to it. So you just let it tune in, and you don't hold the stone so you try to feel what the stone is doing. You hold the stone and you feel in your bones, particularly in your spine, your back, and your feet, what the stone is telling the bone. You let the stone communicate to the bone, and you let the bone listen. It'll feel. The bone will feel it. That's its listening. And it'll know what to do. It'll know what to do. And if you could get a flat piece of rose quartz, a flat piece, or a slab, and lay on it, on your back, behind the heart chakra, that'd be a nice piece to have. About a 4x4 slab, maybe a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch thick, maybe, if it's that available. You lay it to put it there. That stone will send the whole system its correct information. It'd be like
reprogramming.
Yeah, computer just going in the bone. You sleep on that, and then you wake. What happened? Moves a lot of energy. You have to have water. And when you do that kind of work with the rose quartz and things, you need salt nearby. So the entities that were in you, as they leave, you step on the salt or put it on your hands so they can't get back in. You need salt rub, some salt to close your to short circuit any type of return. Because these beings, they are beings, and they have a force, and it's persistent. They don't want to die any more than you do. And as you push them out, there's a sense of dying. They have to find another body to get into. That's okay. The salt will do it. Put it there. Salt's an important thing here. And that's why the ocean is salty. It is really salty. It's for a reason. For a reason.
Because if you bathe in the ocean, then the negative beings leave you?
Well, your oceans are pretty polluted, but the concept that there's a concentration of salt in the ocean is what the key is. It's a highly concentrated solution there. And it does remove evil force. They don't like it. Yeah.
But now the oceans are getting polluted by radiation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is it just salt? We can't we put a lot of salt in water, or are there other elements that work with?
But right now, for an innocence essence, you use rose quartz and salt in your bathtub, and clear quartz, a little peanut oil, okay, in there. That helps the absorption stuff. And what it'll do, it'll take you back into the sense of your womb, where you're in your mom's womb. You just sit there, and your force your bone structure will know what to do. You'll start feeling sucking the energy from the water. The water will actually change color.
How much
as
salt?
you exchange. Teaspoon. Or Epsom salt. If you take Epsom salt's bath, that's a good salt. You can put a large cup maybe in there. It's really good for the arthritis in your fingers too. That rose quartz, clear quartz, peanut oil, and salt in there. And if you're going to do this, what I suggest is you burn a candle there, and a little incense, so the essence of yourself can just reflect in the light of the candle. You look at the candle flame, and then the water will do it. So it takes your mind off the fact that the water and the stone is doing anything. You're looking at the candle, you remember your inner flame, and there's a draw there. It's almost like you'll feel it suck. The candle flame could suck an energy out of your solar plexus up as it desires to look at it, and then that suction thing, you're creating a suction within the bones that pulls in the good minerals, the good energy from the rose quartz. It's a exchange thing. Usually they say, look over here so we can do this over here. That's it. Because when you start doing something too much, you focus on it, and our constructs of thoughts in this world shut things off. Because we want proof, this. So distract yourself, let it work.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, good. Everybody that reads it.
Mercy to ones, and also mercy to yourself. If you can get yourself into that tub situation, mercy to yourself when you were in the womb too, because you were thinking in there, but you forgot what you were thinking. Mercy to the self that was in the womb. Mercy to the self that was in the womb. And when you repeat it 2 or 3 times, you get the confirmation. Okay, I get it now, because we pretty much need 1, 2, 3 down here to get the fact. This way, yes. Okay, in the middle, yeah.
A recipe.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit to a jetted tub, or what else do you call it? A jacuzzi?
Yeah, yes, the water moves. You get a much more, you'll be introducing other forces there, that tornadic, that spinning thing, that force there. And when you work with that has another influence on consciousness all around. So it's a powerful
But
field.
I mean, all at the same time you can do...
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right,
It'll really whip it up the back, though, I must tell you that. It'll go right up, it'll turn you up here, so you just be ready to sit back. Because what it wants to do is wants this thing to open. You know how Hanuman does this? The statue of Hanuman? He opens his chest.
Oh, Hanuman.
Hanuman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. He does.
Yeah.
He pulls the skin.
Yeah.
He pulls the flesh back.
That.
Yeah.
That.
Ah.
Yep.
Energy in that.
Yep.
Okay.
Everyone has that feeling there, but just haven't found out who it's for. It's the same.
I saw him once when Ramdas was speaking. He was standing up there as big as could be.
The big monkey.
Yes. Marvelous. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So these are the teachers that are coming now. It's now that you have to understand that as a parent, they're here to teach. And they're expecting students to be at a certain level by now. So the teachings are going to be a little more difficult to understand if you're not in the understanding of your divinity here. Because those questions are already supposed to have been answered within the self. At least a little bit. Yeah.
And one more question. If you mentioned the 4 elements, now we're long past calling the wind for breath to start our breathing process, but now here in this, at our age and in this reality, should we actually talk to the 4 elements?
Right now you're going to start, the energy that's working up is going to come up into the solar plexus, up through the heart chakra. And then the heart chakra force is going to go over to the right eye, to the right side of the body. Because that's the right side of the body that has its form of determination. In conjunction with God, determines the self.
So if your if your right eye is damaged as a child, does that affect this?
No.
Determining yourself?
No.
Okay.
And so all that's going to change. They're in the change of times now. And time is life. We said that. We're getting a collapse of time. If you have noticed yourself and other beings now, pretty much in all consciousness, are reflecting back when they were younger. Everyone's looking back for a point of confidence where they had of a self. Trying to recognize some part of myself that I thought I had a self. Where I thought I was thinking independently as a self. That timeline is being searched now by all consciousness. Everyone on the planet, in a manner, is looking for their self. Because they see it now out in front of them now. And there's a backward up in time where you can remember as a self. This will take you through incarnations are good. This is where you can get trapped to. How's this, that? Doesn't matter. You're here now. What did you learn? What are you learning? And what are you doing? And what good is it? Have you done anything? For anyone? That thing. Has it helped? All of those questions are going to be thrown at you. And the acknowledgement it says is basically, I've done what I've done. And I've got this far. Thank you, Father, Mother, now what? And then you find out that you're here for someone else, not really for yourself, because you already know this stuff. You can't wait till someone else figures a little bit out now as they start growing, because then you can go somewhere else. You can't go until another teacher's been woken up. And you see that they're doing it, not just pretending or repeating words like most of the churches do now, blah, blah, blah. The functioning abilities have gone away. Haven't been able to function at all, actually. Haven't done anything. That's not going to sit well when you look at yourselves. And this is the process the ones are going through now. A life wasted not to help one, at least get something out there for. You have to do something because you would have no recognition of accomplishments of a self, as a self done things. You have to have it, or you can't go. You won't be able to go forward. You'll be pulling yourself back, judging yourself, or blaming someone else. So the step forwardness of this is what you're in now. The line has been drawn in the sand, so to speak. Everyone's going to cross over it or not. Stay where you are or move forward. It's a... in the northeast, it's called the Heaven's Gate. In the southeast, it's called the Man's Gate. Southwest is called the Earth Gate. The northeast is called the Demon's Gate. That gate is getting pretty active now. So if you're feeling something coming from the north, and this is where you should know where your directions are, where north, south, east, and west are. But if you're feeling a force, and I'm going to tell you this now, because no one else is. But if you're facing north and you feel a force coming at you from the northeast, that's coming in from the Demon's Gate. And I use that word demons. Now, what is that thought? What did it want you to do? What was the influence of it? Stop right there. Analyze it. Then look back to the southwest, to Man's Gate, where you are. Earth Gate, rather. Excuse me. Man's Gate is southeast. You look at the Earth Gate, where you are. You're on the... Okay, there you go. And then you look to the northeast, which is Heaven's Gate. You breathe Heaven's Gate as you look to the northeast, and you feel yourself in the southwest. That's Man's Gate. And then you know who you're dealing with and what you need to do. You come to the center of yourself. And I'm giving you this now so you can be aware of where and how you are being influenced. The energy comes from the southwest. That's man's influence. If energy is coming from the northeast, that's heaven's influence. Energy is coming from the northwest. You get the Demon's Gate there. Pay attention. Don't judge it. Be aware. Because it's looking for assistance too, in a manner. Just make sure it's not slowing you down, and make sure it's going up. Because it wants to go up. It wants to hitch your ride, basically. You sit it in its chair, and ask where it's coming from, why, da-da-da. And ask for a name. Its name, or what name referenced you to me, so to speak. Because it's talking to you. Who referred you? And if a being referred it, that means possibly this one that's coming wants some assistance to go further, because the only way they can go further is what the humans here on earth allow to move up. To pray, because they can't pray there. They don't know how to. They forgot. It doesn't work that way. The techniques of the planet, actually. And those that are trying to keep you down and suppressed are very well aware of this, these directions. Okay? And what happens is, eventually, there's just 4 posts, but they turn like this. They turn counterclockwise, blend in a rope and go up. And that's how you become responsible for the space that you are living in. Literally, the city, the state, whatever. Because you have communication with these realms. There's responsibility here, now with this. Authority comes here. Because you're protecting the space, so individuals and entities can have time within it, which is life. And the life is what's important. Because that's where the learning takes place. The living of it. the remembrance of it, and the repentance of it. Because that's how you claim yourself. Most people don't want to repent, but actually repentance is just getting rid of the garbage. Don't need that anymore. Glad you did it, glad it's over, done, sorry, apologize, fix it. And then the new journeys begin. Respect for the self becomes easier. Yeah. And the divine thoughts help you now, because they don't need much food for thought. They are the thought. One of the probably